radio friends on Friday, April the 3rd. This is Good Friday. We're glad to have you with us today. We have Missouri's first poet laureate with us, Walter Bargen. Good to have you here.
It's
Walter.
great to be here.
Before we went on, we were talking about how the poet laureate became poet laureate in Missouri. Until 2007, we did not have one, did we?
That is correct.
So how did that come about?
The Missouri Center for the Book lobbied for about 10 years through a number of administrations, I think 3, attempting to get the position created.
And nobody was interested?
They all had their doubts about doing it. And in fact, Governor Matt Blunt was advised by his advisors, his handlers, not to do it. But he decided in the last months of his administration that he was going to do this because this was part of his legacy.
So he had a month left?
Well, he had like 3 or 4 months left.
And he decided then that he was going to do it?
Yes.
So how did you become the first poet laureate?
They sent out an announcement. There were 135 nominations. There was some type of winnowing process, and I was one of 4 people considered to be the finalists. I received a call one day saying, "Hey, come on down for an interview." I expected it to be at most a handshake, a hello, and goodbye, and it ended up being a 45-minute interview with the governor of the state of Missouri. And I kept wondering, how can he have so much time to do this? And it turned out that we just had a great time together in this interview. He sat down. The first thing he said to me was, "I just finished rereading The Wasteland for the 3rd time." And I thought, oh gosh, where am I going to go with this? And then I thought, well, Governor Blunt, T.S. Eliot is one of my favorite poets. And then I launched into the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock, which I happen to know maybe about 100 or maybe 150 lines of. And I quoted most of those, and it starts with, "Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go then down certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats, the lonely nights in one-night cheap hotels and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent, leading to an overwhelming question, oh, do not ask what is it. Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo." And so on, you know, and we talked, and we basically had a good time. And you know, he had 2 people there, 2 of his assistants. And
did you know when you left that you were going to be the poet laureate?
No, I thought I'd blown it. You know.
So when did you find out?
About 2 days later, I received a phone call saying that I would receive a fax, and that it was a release form, because any appointment that the governor makes is considered to be on the level of a judicial appointment. So it required a highway patrol background check. Can you imagine the poet laureate has to have a highway patrol background check? And not only that, my wife had to have one too.
So both of you had to have a background check.
Yeah, and I was certain that I would fail that.
Why?
You know, well, because I grew up in the 60s.
Okay, enough said. But you
Exactly. Well, but not only that, back to the interview for a moment. I thought I'd blown it because, well, to begin with, when we were talking about doubts, one of the things that he said to me, he said to me very specifically, he said, you know, my advisors told me not to do this. And he said, because they're convinced that I will somehow embarrass the governor. And I knew what he was talking about, and so I couldn't remember exactly the quote, but I paraphrased W.B. Yeats, who said, "Arguments with others turns to rhetoric. Arguments with yourself turns to poetry." And you know, he felt totally comfortable. He knew that I understood what he was saying, and he did actually even say it again a little bit later. But I got the question, can you think of anything or any reason why we should not appoint you as Poet Laureate? You know, I've lived in the Midwest almost, you know, for most of my life, and as a Midwesterner, we're not perfect. And, you know, we're willing to admit oftentimes our limitations. And so I desperately was searching for something small that I thought would not be a problem, just so I didn't come off thinking, you know, like a big ego, you know, that I was perfect. And I thought, well, you know, I did use the word breasts in a poem once. And I immediately went, you know, mentally I'm going, duh. Oh my God, how could I say breasts in the governor's office? And I thought I'd blown it, you know.
Well, obviously you didn't.
You know, I didn't. And I passed the background check, and there I was.
Even though you grew up in the 60s.
And even though I grew up in the 60s, and we shouldn't talk about that.
Right, right. And you were Poet Laureate for 2 years?
Yes, it went into 2010 a little, you know, a few months, because they're always behind.
Yeah, well, you're really a delightful guest. You brought along books that we were going to talk about. Last time you were on
Gone West.
Gone West,
yes.
And this is a wonderful book. It's available where?
Yellow Dog Books.
At Yellow Dog Books is...
On 9th Street in Columbia.
Okay.
Yes.
Or from your backpack if they see you on the street.
Well, they can send me an email, and I can get them a
address?
copy. It's walter.bargen, that's BARGEN, @gmail.com.
Okay, Walter. Anything else you want to? Any other books that you?
Well, Trouble Behind Glass Doors. It kind of recounts in the first section some of my experiences as Poet Laureate.
Okay.
You know, like following reading at a small town park, following a magician who is also an Elvis impersonator.
Okay. So you followed the Elvis impersonator, and you came on and read poems.
Yes, yes, yes.
That must have been an interesting day for you.
Oh, it turned into a very interesting poem.
So this is in the book, Trouble Behind Glass Doors.
Yes, the poem is called Knots.
This is available same place?
It's available in a number of places, including, I believe, in Barnes & Noble and the Peace Nook.
Thank you. Come back again, Walter Bargen.
Absolutely.
Pleasure having you here. Tomorrow, Vera Massey, or Monday, Vera Massey will be with us. Our program directed by Travis McMillen, Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio is Pat Akers from KBIA. Our floor director is Brendan McDermott, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mauser. I grew up in the 60s, too. Okay.
What I didn't...
We're out of time.
Yeah, well, that's good.